Welcome everyone to episode 3974 of the B League Pick'em show. I am your host, just some guy banging in 89% of whatever his bets were last week. No big deal. No one's paying attention. No one's watching. We have the glare back again. We have no music. We got nothing. No exploitation here at all. It's been an absolute stinker. It's fine. We've got a guy outside with an angle grinder. This could go any which way today, starting with the glare, starting with 89%, starting with no music. Someone got rid of my underdog underlay underneath. I can't even tell you that if you wanted to, go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit up to $100 on your initial outlay. I couldn't even do that because someone got rid of the underlay. Yeah, I can't even do that anymore. So it's an Underdog Fantasy show without an underdog underlay. Yeehaw. It doesn't even matter. Look at him go. 89% Yeti. Thanks very much for coming. Jeff, where's Dan's music? It's in the shitter. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hanging out there with everything else. It's, again, the guy that punches out 89% and he can't get any music. No promotional tweets from the boss whatsoever. Nothing. No promotional tweets about a guy going 89%. Nothing. No TikToks, no Vines, no tweets, no Instagram posts about a guy going 89% for nothing. I could have gone 110%. Nothing. No music. No underdog underlay. But just selfless, shameless promotion of a guy telling you to go to the Going for Two Live Discord, which is 100% free. It's free. Get over that Discord. Find me over there at the B League Says. You can also tag Gladys every Sunday morning at 6 a.m., which is, I think that's mountain time for all your start and sits questions because she wants to know. Make sure you tag her. She loves that. Just tag Gladys. She loves the interaction. As always. Bonjour. I always thought it was one word, but here we are. Very good, Jamie. How you doing? We're ranting today, my man. We're ranting today because some of these props today I am just feeling pretty. It's one of two things. I feel good about them or I feel absolutely disgusted. There is no middle ground on this week's props for some reason. I don't know why. Spelling champ. I am a spelling champ. That goes 89%. Very good. Thanks for coming. Yeah, last week we went pretty good. Like we looked over at I think the one bet I got wrong last week, of all bets, and I said it to Gladys and Kyle as well on our Monday show, I'm stunned that I got Demario Davis wrong. I am stunned. I didn't see that coming. So last week, 3 from 2 last week in the Minnesota, who was it? Who they played? Minnesota, New Orleans, and it was Demario Davis. I can't believe I got Demario Davis wrong. Absolutely stunned on that one. Either way. And everything else, we went 3 for 3 in the afternoon, 3 for 3 in the evening. Very good weekend, as it were. This week's slate's a bit of a... it's all over the place. You've either got like a 1 to 2 point head start or you've got a 10 to 15 point head start. That's where we're at the moment. There's no like middle ground for the morning slate. It's kind of weird to look. Thursday night, obviously, we've got 3.5 Cincinnati at Baltimore for a 46 over-under. That's an interesting game. Like, Baltimore really cocking up to Cleveland last week, knowing that Deshaun Watson was hurt during that. That was there. That would have been one team. Don't take this the wrong way, Jamie, but without Watson, you kind of have to think that would be their season buried. He started to look really good as well. It's a shame. Baltimore dropping that one, knowing they had the short turnaround against Cincy, who also that could have been a two game distance, an extra 2 game distance they put on it because Cincy just. They lose to Houston or something stupid like that. Unbelievable last week, but that's our Thursday night game, which is interesting as it were. Las Vegas plus 12 at Miami, 46.5. There's some interesting props in this one. I'm going to talk about 1 or 2 of them later. We'll see how they go. But there's some interesting props in that one. You can have a look at that one. Chicago plus 10 at Detroit with an over-under of 47. That one's wild. Here's another one. New York Giants plus 10 at Washington, 37.5 with Tommy DeVito starting. And then that's 3. Look at that. Vegas plus 12, Chicago plus 10, Giants plus 10. Where are the Giants finding 10 points? Vegas, you can kind of see. Chicago, even to an extent, can get there. But the Giants plus 10, they'll be lucky to get 3 points. It's wild. Arizona plus 4 at Houston over under 47.5, which is a very intriguing matchup. to me, if there were more options, I'd have been on that pretty quick. Pittsburgh at Cleveland, over under 36.5. I don't think we could talk about that too much. It looks like Dorian Robertson-Thompson starting, and I don't have anything to do. Imagine if the Browns didn't get rid of Dobbs. I didn't even know he was there, to be honest. I just thought he was at Arizona. Oh, no, they traded him, right, to Arizona the week before the season started. They cut Colt McCoy. Wow, what a year he's had to have to go from just when you're in Arizona and you're like Resort City and you're sitting there thinking, all right, we're good. Off you go to Minnesota for the winter. Oh, they've done him dirty. Either way, we're looking at Tennessee plus 6.5 at Jacksonville, over under 39. I like that for Tennessee plus 6.5 because whatever Jacksonville's been doing lately, it's not great. I know everyone's piling on Trevor Lawrence at the moment, but my God. Chargers -3 at Green Bay. So the only away, I think, unless the Pittsburgh, let me have a check. Let's see if those Pittsburgh odds have changed. Unless that's the only thing that's changed, it looks like the only away favorite is the Chargers in Green Bay with an over-under 44.5 the last time I checked. Chargers this week are a special. I'm going to talk about a special player in that one too. But for what it's worth, because this was one of the few games this morning that had multiple options because nothing is there. Like, Underdog really protecting themselves against the punters because, my God, what a shit show we have. What do we got here? Even DK's. Oh, no, here we go. Pittsburgh's still only +1 at Cleveland. So please, someone bet on that. God damn, +1 with a third-string quarterback. Feels like a bit of a gimme on that one. Either way, we're going to do Dallas at Carolina. Carolina home underdog at +10.5 with an OU of 42.5, which seems kind of low, but considering they've had their struggles this year as well, kind of feels crazy. The 3 picks for the morning that I'm going for in this game seems a little obscure to do this one. Dak Prescott lower than 269.5 passing yards. He's been on a tear lately. Dak is in superb form. He's got to be the form quarterback of the last month. Forget the win-loss record of what it would be. He's been the man at the moment. It looks like he's found that light bulb switch. It's kind of gone off for him, and he's just starting to loosen up a lot more. He's not thinking so much, and he's letting it rip, which is great. It's almost like pre-broken ankle. That's where he was, because before he broke his ankle, it was against the Giants as well. It was in Dallas. He was going friggin' nuts. So it feels like he's found that moxie almost to where he's back. He's locked on the lamb, getting those secondary guys going as well, if it's Ferguson or Gallup or Talbot or whoever. Brandon Cooks is starting to wake the fuck up a bit as well, which is wonderful for us as punters. So everything is only really helping him going forward. He's punched over 270 passing yards in 4 games straight, including 400 on the Giants and 300 in his last 3. So he's on fire, but Panthers has managed to frustrate the life out of quarterbacks this year. They're the 4th best passing defense in the NFL. All right, that's wild. Like, they're one of 4 teams. Like, let's go through this. Being one of 5 teams still to be under 1,800 passing yards to date, only allowing 190 yards per game to the quarterback. I'm not saying Dak's going to have a bad game because he's going to play terribly. I'm saying it's going to be a combination of them being a very good pass defense, something that they haven't faced in a while. Even the Eagles, their pass defense has been kind of mid. If you want to have that conversation, we can, because they've been average as fuck lately. But we're now talking about a team that's had a bit of an easy run coming up against a team that has got a very good pass defense, and it could be a game where they look for other ways to exploit the Carolina Panthers. One of those passes to success for me, passes to success for me, it's going to be through the run game. And we're going to get back on Tony Pollard this week because we've been avoiding him like the plague because, let's face it, the most overhyped player in the NFL this year. Kick rocks if you said he was worth a first-round pick. Go fuck yourselves. That's negligent. That's negligent telling people to draft him early first. Late first-round pick. Start up. Go draft him. Yeah, he's a 26-year-old guy that's been the 1B at best. At best. And now, oh, no, he's the man. He's not the man. It's the same shitty team that didn't want him in the first place. He was a 5th-round pick for whatever it was worth. He's just a guy. He's no better than, like, fucking Khalil Herbert. That's what he is to me. He's like Khalil Herbert. That's it. But we're getting on him this week, which is fantastic. Over 61.5 rushing yards. Everyone is going to look to what Rico Dowdle did last week, and okay, like he had a good game. They played the Giants. The Giants was like garbage. The game was over within the first 5 minutes when the Giants had to start twice on their 1 yard line. This game was dead. So to think that Rico Dowdle wouldn't have gone off last week, kind of mad to me to think that anyone in Dallas wasn't going to go off. They didn't let their foot off the gas. They smashed the shit out of them. That's just where they were. It is what it is. Pollard, for what it's worth, still had 15 rush attempts, still punched in 55 yards in a game that was dead. And it doesn't seem like much, but it's just about on par for what his average has been over the last couple of weeks. So over the last 3 weeks, he's been averaging over 50. That's not too bad. It's a bit of a cute matchup. They've conceded the second most yards on the ground, 118 yards per game. The most touchdowns as well. So if Pollard's touchdown props drop, feel free to get on. They've conceded 13 this year. 6th most attempts this year. They've had 230 rushing attempts on them. That's 25 per week. Pollard's going to see plenty of opportunity against a team that leaks rush yards. So that's not the worst idea. It's going to be brighter days for Pollard coming up ahead. I just don't think that this is a guy that you should have been banking on for your dynasty teams back in August. Madness to think otherwise. It's just, why are we doing this to ourselves? Whatever. So if I'm on Dak saying he's going to go lower, Pollard going higher, I feel like Dallas is going to be in control of this game. We can also go look at Adam Thielen. Now, this is a guy who's had an incredible season for what it's worth. But to be fair, he's been, the only bar in town where everyone wants to go and have a drink. He's been open the whole time. It's going to be a tough one for him and Carolina this week, more than anything. And that starts with Bryce Young. I feel bad for him this week because I feel like he's played some decent teams, but they've been able to get to him. This is Dallas. And that front of theirs is just scary. So I think he's going to be in a bit of trouble this week. And to think that Thielen isn't going to be the domino effect having a struggling game, I feel like that's kind of crazy as well. They're stupid good pass rush. That's what they're doing. But their secondary doesn't get the plaudits, I don't think, that they should be getting. They've had a pretty good year. Marquise Bell's come on well. Jaron Kearse is still a good player. They've had guys chipping in that have come in and done well. They look pretty solid. And they've done that without Trayvon Diggs. So, they're pretty good. They faced the third fewest targets this year, conceded the least amount of receptions at 8 roughly per game to the position, second fewest yards as well, 108 per game to the position per week. They're not allowing anything in. And while that is tough, Thielen's form over the last couple of weeks has started to dip, and that's not great either. In his opening 6 of 7 games, he went under 50 yards once, which was in week 1. So he's been going over 50 yards every week ever since, which is great, up until the last few weeks. Recent weeks, he struggled to punch above 40 receiving yards, and that's in positive matchups with Chicago and Indy. So I don't think this quota of 68.5 is really going to be reflective of what he could be afforded in terms of opportunity. If they're only allowing 8 receptions per game to the position, I don't see how he can get the 70 yards unless he absolutely blows up. There's a trend as old as dirt. When it is cold, smash Henry's lines and stick to it again this week. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's one of those teams that seem to frustrate the life out of the Jags, right? Like, that seems to be what he does. So I feel like this is something that he could be doing well with. Henry's line, I don't think it's too bad as well. It's been such a weird thing to see him split time with Tajay Spears. So I don't think that's ideal, but if you know how to beat a team, why do anything differently? It's crazy to me. Either way, we're going to look at the afternoon games. We can get the Jets +7 at Buffalo over under 40. I don't know how they got 7. Whatever. After you fire your OC and you got something to prove, I just have no idea how that happened. The Seahawks are one of the other teams that are an away underdog as well. They're at the Rams this week. Going to talk about someone else there a little bit later as well, over under 46, because the evening primetime games hadn't dropped and your boy got left in the dark one more time. So, again, 3 from 3 in the afternoon last week between Washington and Seattle. Howell, Geno, Metcalf all did us well. This week we start out west instead. We're going Tampa at San Fran. San Fran minus an 11.5 favorite at home. Why? I'll take the Bucs 11.5. I'll take the Bucs 11.5. That's not the worst odds for the Bucs at 11.5. Damn. Either way, pick number 1. We're going Rachaad White, lower than 44.5 rush yards. Look, we can see it isn't happening on the ground. The guy's a receptions machine. He's third in receptions in the RBs behind Kamara and CMC, so he's in esteemed value in a steam state being surrounded by them. That's incredible. If you're the number 3 receiving back in the NFL behind Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, you're doing really well. So that's something you look at when those props drop later in the week. However, he's 29th in rush yards this year, 32nd in yards per game at 47, 42nd in yards per attempt at 3.3. And now, sorry, there's a little person walking behind me. Yeah, there we go. For what it's thrown me off. And now he gets the 49ers on the road, who have allowed the third fewest rush yards, 62 per game. That's wild. I don't think so. They can be had through the air. Tied for 8th most receptions to the running back, nearly 6 conceded on average per game. So that's something to look at as well later. Something to note in the week, more when his props drop later. Pick number 2, I actually wrote nothing down for this because I don't see why I should, because I'm going to lose. So, last week I said I went 8 from 9. This is going to be the one that I miss out on. Pick number 2, Christian McCaffrey, lower than 74.5 rush yards. I don't know why. That's what I'm going with. It's a tough rushing defense in the Bucs. And, that's not going to happen. Pick number 3, Brandon Ayuk, higher than 58.5 receiving yards. It's like Shanahan alternates his game plan every week just to fuck with me. That's what he does. So I actually hate betting on any 49. I've actually stayed away from more 49ers games since maybe week 3 than I care to admit. I hate it because they're everywhere. If it's not an Ayuk week, it's a Debo week. If it's not him, it's Kittle. It's McCaffrey most weeks. And the week you bet on McCaffrey, he goes under. The week you don't, he goes over. They're a nightmare. Last week, Debo looked good, I thought, in his return. They started to get him going the way he used to get going. Kittle broke out away from one. CMC was dangerous as always. Couldn't get that touchdown, which was almost negligent. And I kind of went back to an average 50-yard game. That's kind of what happens with him. It's a tough matchup versus the Jags last week. Rayshon Jenkins, he's been in a fair bit of form this year. So I like what he's been able to do. It was a decent day. It was streaky at best. It was 3 for 53 and 1. And he gets a tab of 58.5. That's interesting too. So for me, and you get Tampa, one fewer game conceded the 4th most receiving yards, 200 per game on average to the position. Something to hang our hats on. But take the past few weeks, have allowed big days to the following people: Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, DJ Moore. So they're letting wide receivers kind of have one on them. They're decent in their own right, but Chase Claypool also had 36 yards on the Tampa defense. So something to keep note when you're talking about, no one can. It's a pretty good matchup. They're letting people concede on them. The run game is hard to get on them. They're hard, but they're just going back for a rebound week in a big way. I think I could see him going over 70, 75 yards pretty simply. As what happened last week, we have a problem with our evening primetime picks. So our primetime picks was Minnesota +2 at Denver, over under 44. Philly +2.5 at Kansas, over under 45.5. There were no props that had dropped for them this morning. I had a look, probably around 10:30. Still nothing going on. So what am I going to go with? We're going to go with something else that we have. Devontae Adams, we're going to pick 3 other props for the week. And I said I'd give you a nice, easy 3 to finish the week off with. Devontae Adams, higher than 73.5 receiving yards. It is hope and prayer time. He gets to go to Minnesota, Miami. Devontae Adams is at Miami. So, there's that. Look, no one in the right frame of mind should be punching him in cash lineups with DFS. I don't know if Yeti wants to agree with me on that. That terrifies the friggin' life out of me. But he's found some recent form, albeit against the Jets and the Giants. One thing is for sure, Miami don't really mess about in games that aren't high scoring. I don't remember the last game that Miami played in that was low scoring. So we're looking at a game with a high implied total. They do have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey that are back. I think that's something to take note of. But he did come up against the tough Jets last week. The Jets' pass defense has been immaculate all year. Still had a good game last week. So implied total of 46.5. It's 9th most receptions, 3rd most of the position. They've been allowing it to happen that way through the air, and that's generally because of how the games have been panning out. So I think it's something he might be force-fed his way into a volume play where he's going to go over. 73.5 is a lot. It feels like a lot. Miami might be a little bit more of a cushy spot for him to be able to get away with it. Pick number 2 is going to be Geno Smith going lower than 258.5 passing yards at the Rams. I feel really weird about this one, but I feel okay as well. I'm not going to tell you it's a trap game for Geno because for all accounts, as a Seahawk, it has been. He's not had the best of time against them. But the reality, is he's had one good game against the Rams, one good game, and that was on the road last year. He punched 360 yards and 3 touchdowns. He lit them up. So we know he can do it. It's just in his other 3 matchups against the Rams, he's been hammered. 2 games under 131 passing yards. I didn't stutter. The other one was under 215, 4 interceptions in 4 games, sacked 9 times in 3. By the way, Rams have conceded still the 8th fewest passing yards this year, which is even more impressive knowing that they have had no Jalen Ramsey, no Nick Scott. Their team took a beating on defense this year. They haven't skipped a beat in that regard. So Geno Smith going lower on the road, 258.5 passing yards. Pick number 3, one of my favorite, I think everyone's favorite fantasy guy, Austin Eckler, higher than 50.5 rush yards at Green Bay. Surprise, surprise, the Packers don't break run defense is bending so much. Not even I'm surprised it hasn't broke yet. They have been atrocious on the ground one more year. Packers have conceded the 8th most rushing yards this year to running backs, which is incredible considering they've played 1 less game than 4 of them ahead, which means other teams have been able to concede more. And while they were on the bye week, they were still that far away that they were just not being able to be caught. That's how bad they've been. Skirting around 105 yards per game conceded, 5th most rush attempts also with 25 per game. Eckler is on a bit of a down year. He got hurt after the Miami game. Didn't look too great. Chargers haven't been great. It's gone belly up. When it's against teams you can attack on the ground like Miami and Detroit, he's done great. And I think that's the truth. Last week he had 19 rush attempts, which was most of the season. 19 rush attempts for Eckler, which is fantastic. 67 yards, which isn't the most efficient, but still he got the volume, got the yards we were looking for. Most since week 1 as well. He's getting the constant influx of targets too. Eckler on paper is back. It doesn't always feel or look like it, but I think this is the week he's going to show for it too, which is pretty good. Let's recap nice and easy one more time. As always, find us on YouTube, Going for 2 Live. Subscribe, hit your alerts, find your favorite show. Discord, it's free. Going for 2 Live server, go get us over there. And as always, underdogfantasy.com, promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit up to $100. We're going to wrap up our 9 picks for the week. Starting off in our morning game, we're going to go to Dallas and Carolina. Carolina heavy home underdogs at 10.5. 42.5 is the over-under DAC. Pick number 1, lower than 269.5 passing yards. Pick number 2, Tony Pollard, higher than 61.5 rush yards. Pick number 3 is going to be Adam Thielen, lower than 68.5 receiving yards. Heading over into the afternoon, we're going into Tampa at San Fran. Tampa, we're given 11.5 head start at San Fran, over under 41.5. Rashad White going to be lower than 44.5 rush yards. Pick number 2, Christian McCaffrey, lower than 74.5 rush yards. And pick number 3, Brandon Oil, going higher than 58.5 receiving yards. There were no evening props, primetime props, so we're going to give you 3 bonus plays to make this week. Pick number 1, Devontae Adams, higher than 73.5 receiving yards. Pick number 2, Geno Smith, lower than 258.5 pass yards. And pick number 3, Austin Eckler, higher than 50.5 rush yards. I hope that was nice and easy for you guys to digest. It's an easy Wednesday. We're lucky we got through with that. We had someone banging the drums, not quite Shanahan, but a 7-year-old, doesn't really matter either way. We fought through it. What a great Wednesday. Until next week, safe bets.